kalpa, an intention to focus, keep the mind focus on this higher aspect of teachings, the higher reality, the ultimate reality, and to let go of all worldly thoughts and concerns for the next few minutes. Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Okay. So So we are doing the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and now we are looking at the shlokas that is related to Karma Yoga. So now the focus of the teachings is on the Karma Yoga. So here, after giving jnana, meaning the teachings on supreme knowledge, self-knowledge to Arjuna, the Lord shifts to the teachings on Karma Yoga. So first he talked about what we call as the Pranivritti Marga. Now he's talking of what we are focusing is the Pravritti Marga, meaning that you live in the world, you continue doing what you do in the world. You don't have to change like your living place or leave your job, leave your family and all that. You stay doing everything, but yet you cannot just go about doing whatever your heart desires, meaning you cannot just go about like seeking every pleasures, everything in the world. You focus on a living a life of yoga while doing your duties. That is the main siddhanta that will come. And in this karma yoga, as we have discussed, there are two important aspects of karma yoga. One is as we have said, it is the relinquishing bhoktrutva, relinquishing enjoyership or relinquishing experiencership. And then there is relinquishing kartrutva, the doership. So the now more or less the Lord is focusing on the former, which is relinquishing the enjoyership and the experiencership. You're not just enjoying, also relinquishing that thing of the one who is suffering. Okay, so this is the teaching. Now, in the last three shlokas, we took up all the last three shlokas together. So here was told that teachings where it was mentioned, those who are talking about Vedas, those who have the who lack that understand. First, it was mentioned in shloka 41. People whose minds are not focused on one thing. So, from a worldly perspective, also we say one goal is important, right? If you have dispersed your mind on 10 different things, then your energies are dispersed, your focus is dispersed. But especially when we talk about this as a spiritual reality, when you come to seeking the highest reality or the moksha purushartha, there is only one goal you are focused on. Because in moksha, there are not thousands of goals, thousands of different paths or different kind of experiences you are aiming. In artha and kama, in worldly pleasures and in seeking of possessions, there are thousands of goals. One day you work towards buying a car. You put all your efforts in buying the car. So there you're focused for a while. But after buying a car, will that stop? No, you will look at somebody who has a beautiful house. You want that house. And then that also, there also, it will not stop. So that kind of things will lead on diverse hundreds of paths, as the mantra says here. The, the one who is focused on so many other things. Kamanata, Swargatara, Janma Karma Pala Pradhan, Kriya Vishesha Bahulan. They will focus on specific activities for achieving specific results. So this is also a teaching from Karma Kanda portion of the Vedas. So taking that, the shlokas were mentioned. There are people who know the Vedas and they speak flowery words. Yamimam pushpitam vacham. They speak very beautiful, meaning they promise a lot of things. They are, they, every Pandit or everything you go to, they will promise you something. You do this yajna, this will change for you. You do that puja, that will change. Huh? But there also what happens, that result is temporary. You will not get permanent result there. After a while, again, you will come up with some problem, and again, you will run to them, and again, they will say something else. So, this is endless, that kind of a solving problems in our life by these kind of remedies. So, here the Lord wants us to focus on the ultimate remedy, the highest remedy, which is spiritual knowledge. So, there in that context, he is kind of speaking down on the earlier part of the Vedas, which focus only on that rituals kind of thing. So, although here, there are some literal translators who say that the Lord is not actually talking even of that, like where it is mentioned, like here, if you look detail in the words, Veda Vada Rahitaha, Partha Nanyadasti iti Vadinaha. So they claim that this is those who are talking that Nanyadasti, there is no ultimate reality, there is no higher reality. So there is one of the darshanas in our thing, not in our astika, nastika darshana. One who say there is no other reality than the world. Anybody knows what is that darshana called? Um, so
Charvak.
they, yeah.
Charvak Darshana.
Charvak,
Charvak.
yes, yeah, Charvak Darshana. So they are the ones who say that the body and what you see, what is your vision, your pratyaksha, that is the only reality. There's no higher world. There's no afterlife. You die and you die. End of it. Nanya dasti. So they are saying that they also are, criticizing the Vedas. Actually, they don't follow the Vedas, so they are criticizing the Vedas there. So here, actually, in that context, if you take it, it is still talking about the Vedas only. Those who are talking about but what happens with that is that also who aspire to heaven and the rewards of birth, actions, and all that, they engage in specific things. What happens? Bhoga Ishwarya. See, he uses this word Bhoga Ishwarya because now he wants to talk about Bhoktritva Tyaga in the coming mantras. Bhoktrutva means that enjoyership. So he is criticizing already that thing of people seeking some kind of joys in the world, worldly joys. If that is our goal, then he says you will be running endlessly round and round in circles. So because of the preparing our mind for that, he is trying to tell us now that Bhoga Aishwarya. Bhoga means like enjoyment, pleasures. We are constantly seeking pleasure, seeking happiness. One after another, we want happy experiences in life. Aishwarya is the other thing people want. Power, wealth. See, what is the use of power? The use of power is you exercise control over others. So this is also a secret desire. Every human more or less carries that. And this desire to control things, control people. So we are constantly seeking that in this world. So Bhoga Aishwarya. So as long as we have that seeking of Bhoga and Aishwarya, then we will be attached to the world only. We cannot rise above, our thinking will not rise above the world. So what happens to that person? Vyavasayatmikaha buddhihi. He is not able to be single focused, or he's not able to focus the mind one pointedly, ekagrata. So even in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, we talked about this. There are 5 states of mind, persons go through. So the first initial states, anybody remembers the 5 states of mind?
Kshipta, Vikshipta,
Ah,
Mudha, Ekagrata, Nirodha.
correct, very good. Yeah. Shiptha is that restless mind. That is a endless. Then Muda is a dull mind, tamasic mind. Shiptha you can take as a rajasic mind. Then there is a dull mind. Then the vikshipta mind. Vikshipta mind is trying to focus, but this is like those of us who try to meditate or we try to study. One day we will study, and then other day we'll feel, oh, what is this? It is not giving me immediate benefits. It is not like, all our old samskaras will come back and challenge us. Huh? Why not have fun? Why not do? Everyone else is doing some fun thing. Oh, I'm sitting here in the class. See, all these thoughts will start coming. So this is a vikshipta. The mind oscillates back and forth. Huh? It has started having an inclination, but still the old samskaras are pulling it back. So it goes back and forth. Huh? It goes back, comes back. Vikshipta. Then comes the slowly it starts stabilizing. It starts tasting the peace and the joy of a mind which is focused on higher objectives, ekagrata. The mind starts getting focused. So here, Vyavasayatmika is like that. The mind is not focused. Why? Because it is already giving importance to Bhoga and Aishwarya. A mind that gives priorities to worldly enjoyments and to worldly power will not ever be able to be in your control. It will run on its own control. The worldly objects will control the mind in reverse. So then what happens? Bhogaishwarya buddhi, when it is there in that buddhi, samadhav na vidiyate. If there is no ekagrata, what happens? You cannot go to samadhi, that state of samadhi. Here, samadhi literally means a focused mind, a mind which is in your control. Not a mind that is being controlled by the objects. Like, if you have a habit of something, like even these days people are are hooked with all the phone, social media, right? If you have a habit, what happens? Those things are controlling your mind. You are not in control of them. So samadhauna vidiyate. For such a mind, that aspect of samadhi is difficult. So of course, it is difficult, but you cannot give up. You have to slowly start practicing. You go to Vikshipta first. You will, for a while, experience that oscillation, but after that, you will move ahead. Like also some people here who are coming from class second time. They are attending my Gita class, other language. So once you start getting that habit, then what happens? Your samskaras, new samskaras, or your previous life positive samskaras, they will reawaken. And then that ekagrata will come. You will start really enjoying the classes. You will start getting something out of it. So that is where, we are all heading towards. Okay, now comes the next kind of level of he's going in the Karma Yoga teachings only. He's going to introduce the next level of these teachings. Okay, so far what we have seen here in this in this thing says that he's been talking about a resolute intellect, that mind which has resolved its priorities once and for all, and that resolution of that mind is the foundation for antakarana shuddhi. So for chitta shuddhi, in order to get that chitta shuddhi, that vyavasayatmika buddhi, that mind which is single pointed, not just single pointed for a short time until you get what you want. It is single pointed until that moksha, that final abidance in self, that glimpse, that not even just getting glimpses. So actually what happens, like I think somebody had asked before, how is chitta shuddhi required? So for realization or moksha. So see, for what happens is, initially what happens is we start getting glimpses of that spiritual potential, that joy of self, that peace, all that glimpses of self-realization we start getting. That itself, becomes a path. Once we and but that alone is not enough. So the more you study, the more you start understanding, and the more you start getting glimpses, then that becomes also a factor for chitta shuddhi. So chitta shuddhi is done two ways. One is through actual monitoring the mind and doing devotional practices, and depending on people's personalities, different sadhanas, all sadhanas result in chitta shuddhi. But on the other hand, the other sadhana is that jnana sadhana, knowledge, studying, abiding in self, knowing the ultimate reality, that itself also will cause chitta shuddhi to happen, the purity of purification. So both ways that purification will happen. But important is that we have to have that clear understanding and priority in our life, that my worldly goals, even though I'm seeking, they're not the ultimate, they're not going to give me ultimate happiness. So this is what we call, a person who has that spiritual maturity. So actually we can say this, today, not today, long back, or it's been many years now, there is a popular word coined by one of the writers, and he's actually a follower of Buddhism. He coined this word called emotional intelligence. So there, that is a factor of how people are emotionally mature. So that is also what we are talking about here as chitta shuddhi, that kind of emotional intelligence. But it goes a little further than that. The person who has spiritual understanding has to have both emotional and spiritual intelligence. It is not just that emotional intelligence is good. It will help you with the chitta shuddhi, little bit. But we have to go further and cultivate what is called as, what we can call as emotional and spiritual intelligence. So that is the path, that so like when we say focused, one more point I'll just clarify, then we will move on. When we say a focused mind, so here sometimes we may see, like some sadhus or some mahatmas, they may still have worldly indecisions in matters. So that is not what we are talking about, that they have to be focused in every little detail of their life. We may still have questions like what will I eat for today, or should I stay here, should I go somewhere else. So all that, that is a those are daily life issues. Those decisions are not. But what happens is, even our daily life decisions also will have an overarching guidance, because once we have made that ultimate decision, my priority in this life is to seek that ultimate happiness, that supreme bliss, or that supreme state of realization, that alone is what is worth seeking. That we have resolved. If we have no doubt about it, then of course, even if we have daily life little issues here and there, it is not something that we have to worry too much about. Slowly, slowly, even the daily life things will get guided and resolved by this overarching decision in our life. Okay, now let us look at the shlokas for today. Yeah, you can repeat after me. Shloka number 45. We will chant this first, and then we will see. Okay, please repeat after me. Traigunya Vishaya Veda
त्रैगुण्य विषया वेद
Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna
निस्त्रैगुण्यो भवार्जुन
Nirdvando Nitya Sattvasto
निर्बन्धो नित्यसत्त्वस्तो
Niryogakshemavatmavan
निर्योगक्षेम आत्मवान्
Yavanartha
यावानर्थ उदपाने
Sarvata Samplutodake
सर्वतः सम्प्लुतोदके
Tavan Sarveshu Vedeshu
तावन् सर्वेषु वेदेषु
Brahmanasya Brahmanasya vijanataha
ब्राह्मणस्य विजानतः
कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते
कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते
मा फलेषु कदाचन
मा फलेषु कदाचन
मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भुर्
मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भुः
मा ते सङ्गोऽस्त्वकर्मणि
मा ते सङ्गोऽस्त्वकर्मणि.
So this shloka, this last shloka is a very famous shloka in India. Thanks to B.R. Chopra, there used to be like a Indian television serial. One those of us who many years back in the 90s, I think, was one of the most popular television serial in India, and their starting was this. They would have that. They would show the Mahabharata, and this shloka was one of the few shlokas they would usually have in the initial opening. So first, let us look at shloka 45. So the shloka 45, the translation here, I will just retranslate this a little bit differently. Okay. Okay, so here I will just read some translation that I've written. The Vedas speak extensively of the three gunas, attributes such as sattva, rajas, and tamas. O Arjuna, rise above these gunas. Let go of the pull of opposites and steady yourself in the bliss of sattva or the purity of sattva. Do not be anxious about acquiring or preserving your worldly possessions. Instead, anchor your mind in the self. So this is also a very important shloka here. So let us look at it word by word or phrase by phrase, and then I will explain this. So first is Traigunya Vishaya. The Vedas, Traigunya Vishaya Veda. The Vedas are based on three gunas, meaning the Vedas are not exactly talking about three gunas, but the Vedas are addressing people who are predominant in these three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas. So the Vedas, especially the Karma Kanda, the Karma Kanda part of the Vedas, is catering to these people who have desires based on their rajas, tamas, and sattva, that kind of attributes. If people are too dull, they are tamasic. If people are too hyperactive or overly active and ambitious, they are rajasic. And people who are pure in heart, who have spiritual inclination, they are predominantly sattvic. So the Vedas are addressing these three people. But here is a call for Arjuna. The Lord is actually asking Arjuna to rise above these three gunas. Nistraigunyo bhava Arjuna. You rise above this. You become above, you rise above all the three gunas. Rajas, sattva, tama. Go beyond them. Nirdvando nitya sattvasto. Become free from the opposing forces of dualities. So we talked about this in other shlokas also. This has been coming. Dualities, matras, parshas to kaunteya, shitoshna sukha dukkadaha, hot and cold, happiness and sorrows. You have to these come with the contact of with the worldly objects. Rise above them. That was already mentioned. So again, he just puts one word here. Nirdvando. Be free from dualities. Free from, so the world is full of dualities. Be free from the opposing forces of nature, we can say. Nitya sattvasto, be ever established, permanently established. Not permanently, meaning focus on being established on that sattva. So then he says, nir yogakshema. So be beyond yogakshema. So here The word yoga kshema, I'll just explain. So every time when we say yoga, it is not the hatha yoga or that yoga which is union. Yoga is used in many different contexts because in Sanskrit word, the words can be used in different ways when we say yoga. But there is an underlying meaning of the word yoga. So that is what he is taking here. Shankaracharya explains here. Yoga means getting something which you haven't got. Um, like when worldly things, if I don't have a house, I want to get a house. If I don't have a job, I want to get a job. So this effort in getting something that you don't have, uh, worldly things, not spiritual things, worldly things. Yoga, kshema means that what you already have, you want to preserve it. So these are the two great, two instinctive desires or pursuits of every human being. To acquire things you don't have and to preserve things that you already have. If you have a house, then you want to maintain that house. If you have a job, you want to hold on to that job. See, all these are kshema, because we want the worldly things. If something happens, we feel if we're losing the job, then we become insecure. Some people start having anxiety and all that. If there is like something, somebody says you will lose your job or you hear some layoffs and all that, they become very anxious. So this is he's saying be free from this desire to acquire things and the desire to hold on to what you already have. How do you do this? Atmavan. So literally, if you take it, abide in the self, or place your mind on the self, Atmavan. But here it is more strictly taken by Shankaracharya as be vigilant by of all these pulls. Be composed in your mind. Don't be lost. Don't allow your mind to go outward too much on outward worldly things. See, this is the thing, whenever you have lot of tensions or lot of worries, an immediate way to be is like to raise your mind from worldly thoughts. Shift your mind away from worldly thoughts, either by contemplating on the self or on thinking of the Lord. See, these are the quick results, quick ways of abiding, in freeing yourself from worldly concerns, any kind of tension, stress, and all that. See, even when you will notice this when you start studying and all, when you start listening, teaching, and all that, for at least that period of time, the worldly thought slowly starts fading away. So when you really put your mind on this. So all this are like what is the Lord? This is mainly what the Lord is actually saying. So now couple of points here to just think about. So one is the point here that Shankaracharya, and actually there is a Bhashya, there is a Tikakara, we say. There is a person who writes commentary on the commentary. So he makes a subtle point. He says that the Lord is saying that rise above the three gunas. But then he's saying abide in the self. Isn't this conflicting? So he's himself trying to make us think by bringing the what we call a Purva Paksha. So if you look at the shloka, that first line said rise above in the second quarter of the first line. It says that rise above the three gunas. Then he tells him be abide in the sattva guna. How can you be abiding in sattva guna and rise above three gunas? So this is a something. So to understand this, the first we have to understand what do you think is the battle when we say the dualities, the dual forces. What do we say are the dual forces? Are the dual forces the force between sattva and tamas? Or is it the force, like we say, good and evil? There are three things. See, if there's only two things, we can say one is good, one is bad. But now we have three things here. In these three things, which one is good? Of course, we can say sattva is good. But which one is bad? Is Rajas bad, or is Tamas bad, or is both bad, or is only Tamas bad? Any thoughts?
Seems like they're both good and bad, Rajas and Tamas. You can't be purely Rajasic or purely Tamasic, but you would need like a balancing between the two. So each of them are part of the world of duality.
But from our body perspective, that is correct. We need like tamas for the body to go to sleep and all that. But from the mental perspective of spiritual sadhaka, isn't which one is bad?
Tamasam.
Tamas.
Tamas.
They're both bad.
They're both
Yeah.
bad. That also is correct. Tamas is bad. Anybody else?
No, Rajas makes you to act. It can be
Ah.
towards Sattvic.
That is also a point, right? Rajas, see,
Ichha Shakti.
for you to seek the teacher, for you to come
Yeah.
study, you need Rajas also, So, yeah, it's getting more complicated now, We are not getting anybody else? There's actually one more equation also if you take, between good and bad from the highest teaching. Anybody can guess?
Well, from the highest teaching, they all need to be transcended, all three of them.
Correct. So all of them are bad from the highest teaching, because they are all like, there is a beautiful story. I have told this many times, but for this context, I will just say very briefly. So this is a story told by some many maybe in the scriptures, but Ramakrishna Paramahamsa recently, we know, mentioned this story. So he talks about there was a man traveling from his village, from the city to his village. He was going back home, and he had money. He had worked for many days. He had money, and he was taking it back home to give his house or his family. So on the way, what happened? He had to go through forest. There was a shortcut, you can say. He took the route of the forest. So he started going in the forest. So then in the forest, he was encountered by three thieves. Those three thieves came. One of them held him down and tied him to the tree. And the other one took away his money. And all three ran away with the money and everything. Then after a while, one of the thief came back and he said that, I feel bad for you. I will untie you. Now that anyway you don't have anything, I will untie you and you can go home. So then that person says, you have untied me, that's good, but how do I go back home? So I don't know the way, I'm lost. So then he tells him, I will show you the way. So he leads him out of the forest. And then he points out, now you can go back to your village. So the man turns back to the thief and says, you seem to be a good man. Why don't you come along with me, leave all this robbery business you're doing and come along with me. So then you can also lead a good life. He says, no, my job is to be a thief. If I go to the village also, if I go out here also, people will recognize me as a thief. I cannot go back there. I can only come until here with you. From here you have to go on. So this is an allegoric story. It has a lot of this one. So those three thieves, can you guess what do they stand for?
Three gunas.
So the three thieves stand for the three gunas. So the person who tied him down, what could that be?
Tamoguna.
That is a tamoguna, the person who puts him down, meaning you cannot move anymore. That is a tamoguna. The person who takes the money,
Rajoguna.
Rajoguna, because money is the source of activity, right? Like if you look at the world, you have money, you can fly here, you can fly there. That is why in sannyasa they say, you shouldn't work to make money, so that you will stay put. All the rajas is taken away. So then the sattva, that is the last person. What does he do? He shows you the way out of the forest. But he's also the gunas. He's a part of the samsara. He will not come out of that samsara. So the Sattva guna is a helpful guna to take you out of that forest. But that guna itself is part of that samsara. It is part of that Prakriti. So it will not leave that. So here, actually, when we talk about it, we can answer from all these perspectives. So first, when we talk from the highest perspective, you have to be free of all the three gunas. Because all these three gunas are what? They are the cause of your bondage. They will keep you in the samsara. But of this, the sattva guna is the most helpful. When you want to get out of samsara, you can actually bank on the sattva guna to take you out. So from that perspective, sattva guna is a good force. When we talk good and evil, so from that perspective, sattva guna becomes the good force of good. From the highest perspective, there is no good and evil actually. There is, all these are evil in that sense. There is absolutely, you can say no, nothing you can call as good and evil. You have to rise about everything. So that is what he's saying. What is the goal? Nistray gunyo bhavarjuna. Your goal is to rise above these things. But what is the practice? How do you go about doing that? Although the pointer is you have to rise above the three gunas. So this is what the commentator resolves it here. He says, what is the way out is that you have to rise above this, meaning you have to become nishkama. From that karma yoga perspective, you have to become nishkama. Your focus should be on nishkama. But you will say that tomorrow onwards I will do my activities without any desire. But will that go away? Immediately it will not go away. That is the goal you want to have. The goal you want to have is to have that nishkama. But that practice is to be there for that. What is the practice for that? You take hold of sattva guna. So sattva guna becomes your like a boat. Like many times, sometimes like I go to some open discussion places. So there people are saying questions. They will say like, Swamiji, you're like also attached to spiritual teachings. You should let go of that also. Why are you wearing these clothes? You should let go of that. See, this is where, we have to understand, if we have completely abided in the self, then we don't need to follow any rules and all that. But the means of reaching there, the means of abiding that is you need a boat to cross the river. Then only when you cross that river, you can let go of the boat. So that is what he's pointing here, that sattva guna, nitya sattvasto. What does that mean? You have to abide in that in sattva guna. Take hold of sattva guna for your journey. And then what is the other point that he brings up? The other point that he brings up is that nir-yoga kshema. So let go of the desire for this. You have to try to free yourself from your preoccupation with the worldly objects, because the worldly objects will always keep you tied. Shankaracharya says, he who is anxious about new acquisitions or about preservation of his old possessions, that person cannot have any peace of mind. He's ever restless. He cannot meditate, he cannot undertake spiritual practices, and nor can he practice dharma. He cannot even pursue dharma purushartha. You see, like people who are very anti-corruption and all that, they cannot keep expecting to get a lot of money from their thing, right? If they are when we respect people in the world also who are very dharmic or very virtuous, they cannot be over concerned with yoga kshema, meaning their worldly things. You cannot be concerned with them. In fact, later on also the Bhagavan will say in the later shloka, yoga kshemam mahavyaham. I will take care of your yoga kshema once you have taken refuge in me. So this is also a promise from a bhakti perspective. This is a promise the Lord gives. If you have taken refuge in me, I will take care of you. And in fact, for all of us who take on the path of sannyasa, this is the first thing we are taught to train in. Don't worry about your worldly needs. If it comes, fine. If it doesn't come, fine. So that is also how I take my classes. If there are enough resources, I will conduct classes. If it's not there, it's fine, I will drop it. So that is how, our acharyas used to say, we should not. But nowadays, what happens? People like focus on building more and more and more, right? So if that any kind of thing, that should not become a bondage for us. Worldly things, if they become too much bondage, then mentally at least we should drop them from thinking too much about them. Okay. Now, actually, there's one more point about this, which Ramanujacharya says, where he says, when that sattva, when one abides in that sattva guna, then what happens that he is able to be free of this worldly life concern. Meaning he's able to be free of this dvandva, this dualities of worldly life, and he is able to in that sattva, which is a state of purity, he is able to establish the chitta shuddhi, which will allow him to get that knowledge. Okay, now the next shloka, we will quickly look at it. Yavanartha udapane sarvata sampluthodake. So udaka means water. So the person who is flooded with water, a person who has access to unlimited water, like if you are living near Ganga or something, then Tarvan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanatah. So for that person, why do you need a well? A person who has abundance of water near him, why would he make a well? Or why would he go to a well? Similarly, a person who has access to that supreme knowledge, that highest knowledge, that self-knowledge, why would he engage in all these rituals, knowledge of rituals given by the Vedas? All this different ritualistic knowledge which will give you different results. Why would you want to pursue all that? So this is also, in the Upanishads, there is a very famous quote. It says, Yasmin vijñate sarvam evam vijñatam bhavati. Knowing that one thing, everything else become known. So there is a student who goes to the teacher, his father actually, he tells him, he has studied in a lot of other places, and then he comes back very proud. His father says, you look very proud. Then what all did you learn? He said, I learned a lot of things. And then he says, did your teacher teach you that one thing knowing which everything else can be known? So this person says, no, I don't know. What is that thing? So that is when it is said, if you know the self, or if you know the supreme self, Bhagavan, then everything else is known, not in a literal sense, but in that essence of it, because that Lord or the Atma is the essence of everything. So if you know that one thing, then you know the essence of everything else. So similarly, it is said here, if you already have that highest joy, that highest knowledge, then why would you waste time seeking this little? Why would you compromise your time seeking all this? So, in fact, there is one line from which acts as a continuity from this shloka to the next shloka, which Shankaracharya says, and I'll just briefly read that line. Tasmat prag jnana nishtadikara praptehe karmanyadikritena kupatada gadyartha sthani yamapi karma kartavyam. So before one attains that fitness for that supreme self-knowledge, now that shloka said, if you already have self-knowledge, why will you do other things? So here Shankaracharya qualifies that. He qualifies this by saying something else. What is it? So he says that before one attains that fitness for steadiness in that supreme knowledge, Jnana Nishtha, you still have to do those rites, especially if you are a grahastha. You cannot give up doing all that rites, shraddha, marriage rites, and all those, like you cannot say, okay, I'll marry without doing marriage. I mean, especially in Indian context, we are talking. So all those, rituals which many of the priests do, you cannot completely let go. So he's still giving credibility to the earlier part of the Vedas and to our daily life activities also. We cannot let go of our worldly duties. Nitya naimittika karma. So why? Because even though they have that limited utility as a well and pond, have to undertake because they still do not have that highest adhikaratva, yogyata. They are still not completely qualified to abide just in that self. So what you still have to do. But when you do this, how do you do this? The next shloka. Karmanyeva adhikarasya ma phaleshu kadachana. Your right is only to action. Karmani eva. So then we say, what else what else would have I expected otherwise? You would have expected the result in every action. This is an almost instinctive thing in every human. But the Lord says, Ma paleshu kadachana. So now comes the essence of pravritti marga. The Lord said, don't leave the world and go to the Himalayas. You stay where you are. But you have to do one thing. What? You can do your action, but do not expect results. So this is the essence of pravritti marga. Then he qualifies it by adding more. Ma karma phala heturbhu. Let not your attachment be to that outcome of results. Actually, if you literally translate this, there is a more subtle thing. What is it? When you say ma karma phala heturbhu, do not be that agent who seeks that results. When we say agent, the agent who is seeking that result, we are talking of the karta, the kartrutva bhavana. So the first one, he said, bhoktrutva bhavana, you have to give up. That enjoyership you have to relinquish. Now he is saying even that kartrutva bhavana, ma karma phala heturbu, do not be the cause of that result. You do not take that credit for whatever action that result that comes. Relinquish that credit for that also. Mate sangostva karmani. So does that mean you just sit and do nothing like Arjuna wants to do? He doesn't want to fight that battle. Do you just then sit at home and do nothing? No, don't be attached to inaction as well. So there is a two levels of teaching here. You have to act in the world without seeking results. But nor at the physical level, it doesn't mean you so you are not acting mentally, you have relinquished that results and the doership. So almost you are inactive mentally. Mentally meaning like at a identification level. But physically you are still acting, meaning your body and your brain, you can say, it's still functioning. You're not brain dead as such. You're still functioning. But that investment, your identification. So this requires a little bit more explanation. I will do it in the next class. But this is also mostly when people explain what is karma yoga, this is a definitive shloka. This is a defining shloka. This is the shloka that defines karma yoga. In a one shloka, many people say this is the essence of karma yoga. Okay, any questions people have?
Swami,
Yeah.
about the experiences. For example, when I studied the Yoga Sutra, I heard that we need the experiences because when we have the experiences, we see our obstacles. What makes us suffer? What raga, dvesha. So the experience is really important for us to see where are the obstacles. I would like to ask you.
Yeah, see, the experiences as such will come whether or not you want it. So this is part of our proportion of karma. In fact, the word karma, it is defined in so many ways. literally here we are using it as action. But karma also means that your destiny, your set of experiences that you will have in this life. So these set of experiences, you are almost like hardwired to seek after them. You will, whether you like it or not, these experiences will come. But it is correct also what you're saying, that from that experiences you can learn. A wise person uses the experiences of life to learn from them and to grow out from them, meaning spiritually. For most people, experiences leave them with either a distaste, like if it's a bad experience, you develop a mental resistance. Or if it's a good experience, then you develops an attraction. You want to do it again and again. So that is not actually in your early set of karma that you came. That is your what is called the agami karma. You are creating more actions because these set of experiences which came from there you are creating new experiences. So that kind of attitude is not encouraged in even in Yoga Sutra and here also. So what happens then is that those set of experiences is where you are exercising your free will to create those experiences. And also you have not optimized your current set of experiences, meaning you have not grown or learned from your current set of experiences.
Guruji, I would like to ask about relinquishing action itself. How does that really look like in day-to-day life? It's about being mindful every time that I am the self, I am not the personality, I am not the body. It's like coming back to the observer and doing things from that point of view. Is there any other trick?
Yeah, see here actually the Lord is clearly saying the last quadrant of the shloka, he's saying don't be attached to inaction, meaning that physically don't be attached to inaction. But what does there it does say later on there will be as a whole chapter called karma sannyasa. There are two chapters, jnana karma sannyasa. So there what is said is relinquishing action itself. But there again, what it is meant is not the actual letting go of action. Nowhere does the Lord have actually said let go of action, especially in Bhagavad Gita. In more like Nivritti Marga, Upanishad teachings and all that, sometimes we get that kind of message. You have to let go of action itself. But here it is not suggesting that. But there is a teaching to let go of association with action or desire for action. I think last time somebody was asking that, and I was mentioning that, that there is an inward propensity, desire to keep doing things, to keep seeking experiences. So that kind of thing is where we have to abide as an observer, meaning we have to be aware of that urges of that moment of the thoughts, that impulses, which is that first moment of rajas in the mind. See, if you're sitting in meditation, those of you who are meditators, you know this. When you are sitting in meditation, especially like, if you've been restless, if you've been very active during the day, then you sit in meditation. After a while, some thought will come. Maybe I want to get this food, or maybe somebody is calling you. Maybe there was a message. Some thought like this will come, which will take you out physically. But when you come out of physically and you hold the phone and you realize there's no message, or there is a message, you have gone out of that meditation. So what happened there? You may think, oh, I came out here, I left that meditation hall. Why did I do that? But that time, that is already the secondary impulse. The first thing is there is a thought that arises in your mind. If you are not aware, as you said, the word mindful, that Atmavan, the Lord says, be vigilant. Atmavan means that be always conscious, always the mind should be in the self, watchful. You're watching the flow of any thoughts that come. So you see, if you're outside that aquarium and seeing a fish move, you just see it move. You're not attached to anything. But if you're inside the water and then that fish is moving and all that, then you move away and all, right? So that is what happens to all of us. When our mind is in that samsara, if your mind is too invested in worldly things, right, then every little thought will pull us away from self, from that what you said, mindful, that state of being mindful. You will get carried away. But if you are able to catch that thought, when that impulse of thought comes, then you can let it go as just a thought coming. But if you're not aware, then you will get identified with that action and then you become the doer of that action. So basically, in summary, what happens here is that the Lord is not telling us you should not act. So what the Lord is saying is, even when you're acting, you act out of allowing the gunas to do their job. Guna guneshu vartante. It will come later. The gunas are doing it. You just watch that play of all the gunas working within you. But you remain even during action as a observer, meaning every now and then we can practice this. Even when you are acting, first consciously you have to do. You can bring your mind. But also another thing is my first recommendation to people is you start your everyday with that intention. That today whatever I'm doing it for the Lord. Or today whatever I'm doing, I'm not the doer. Let the Lord work through me, or let the gunas do their job. So you start with that intention every morning, then allow that thought to come every now and then. That am I the actor or am I just a witness here? Okay, we will do it like this. Let's say closing prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namo Narayana.